So in question 34, we have a tablecloth with a shaded border. And they say the border is a ½ meter wide on all sides. And they want to know what is the total area of the tablecloth and then what is the area of the border. So let's work on the first one, which is to work out what is the total area for the tablecloth. So we know that by looking at the shape first of all, we'll be able to determine what formula we're using. So what shape do we see here? Now if we remember four-sided figures where two sides that are parallel are of equal length, and we see that on both sides, right? We have a longer side and a shorter side. We're dealing with a rectangle here. So the first thing that we would want to write down, at least to recall, is how do we find the area of a rectangle, right? So the area of a rectangle is length by width, right? Area of the rectangle is length by width. And if we have to find the area, right, and first of all, they specify as well a total area of the tablecloth. We need to figure out what is the total length of the tablecloth and the total width of the tablecloth. Now, they have 4 meters here and they have 5 meters here. And what did they tell us? They told us up here, and this is a key piece that we need to be able to determine the total length and width, right? The border is a ½ meter wide on all sides. A ½ meter wide on all sides, right? So let's think about that for a second. A ½ meter wide on all sides. Okay, what does that translate into meaning for us in this problem? Well, first of all, right, a ½ meter wide on all sides means that from this little corner here, where my 5 meters would have started, for example, there's also a ½ meter extra here. And where my 5 meters ending on this corner, there's a ½ meter there. And likewise for my 4 meters, there's an extra ½ meter up here and there's an extra ½ meter down here. So we have to factor that in, right? So like I said, we have a ½ meter being added on both sides. ½ meter being added again on both sides. So we need to add in total on the length, we're adding on an extra meter, right? Because we have to add on a half on both sides. So for us to get the total length, we're adding in that ½ meter on both sides of the length. So a half plus a half is a whole. So we're adding on a whole extra meter to our length. And this gives me 6 meters, right? So my length is 6 meters. And we're not just doing that for the length alone, we also have to do that for the width. So we go to the width now, which is the inner width. They told us is 4 meters, right? 4 meters. So we're going to add on a half on both sides to that 4 meter length. So again, you notice that you're adding a half and a half. A half and a half would add up to 1. So we're adding on a whole extra meter to the 4 meters. So we're writing in 4 meters plus that extra meter, right? A half plus a half is 4 meters plus 1 meter, which is 5 meters, right? Alright, now to find the area of the tablecloth, we have to take the length and the width, right, and multiply it so we get the area. they said that the length, after we calculated it with the extra half meter, we got it to be 6 meters. And the width that they gave us, the inner width, when we add on that extra meter, we get 5 meters. So we're basically taking the length of 6 meters and the width of 5 meters. We're going to multiply that, and we're going to get our total area. So our area is 6 by 5, right? So 6 meters by 5 meters, which will give me 30 meters squared, right? Remember, we're measuring in meters, so our area would be given in meters squared. And again, our answer line usually has the unit there for us, so all we have to do is write in what we get. So 6 by 5 is 30. That's our answer for this part, right? Now they want to know what is the area of the border. What is the area of the border? So to do the area of the border now, there are two ways we can approach this. Alright, and the way I'm going to show you, in my opinion, is the easier way. Right? So to get the area of the border, I want you to pay attention to the shaded area. Right? The shaded area is around the entire thing. And while they told us that the border is a half meter wide on all sides, right? We can just simply use the fact that we know the inner rectangle's dimensions. And we just calculated the total area for the entire shape, right? So with borders included, we have an area of 30 meters squared. And if we could just calculate the area of the inner rectangle, we just have our answer a little bit faster. Alright? So the area of the border is going to be the area of the rectangle, right? The total area, I should say. So let me just write a statement for that. Total area, take away the inner area, right? The inner area is the unshaded area of the rectangle. Right? We know our total area is 30 meters squared. And now we need to find the inner area. And now the inner area is the area of this rectangle that we have on the inside here, which is the 5 meters long, 4 meters wide area. So again, another rectangle. We're just going to multiply the length by the width. So we'll write 5 by 4. Alright, so 30 meters squared minus 20 meters squared is going to give us the area of our border. Find the difference between them and we will get 10 meters squared. Right? So in my opinion, this is the easier way, simply because we already knew what was the total area of the entire rectangle, right? The entire tablecloth. And we also know the portion of the tablecloth that is confined within the border itself. So instead of trying to find the area, this rectangle and that rectangle and that rectangle and then that rectangle and adding it all together, that way is the easier way, alright? But you can, in fact, treat it as a compound shape, where if you were to treat it as a compound shape, you would have to find the areas of the rectangles like this, where you would have to split up the shape, right? And in total, you would get 4 rectangles, right? In total, you get 4 rectangles. And you then have to pay attention to what is the length of each rectangle, what is the width. Well, the width of all the rectangles would have been a half meter, but then you'd have to pay attention to what is the length of each one. So, like I would say, in an exam, you want to prioritize time efficiency, right? You want to be able to get through your questions smoothly, accurately, and quickly, because you don't have all the time to sit down and play around and reason, right? So definitely the easier way would just simply be take the area of the unshaded region of your diagram, which is the inner rectangle as I showed you all before, and you're just subtracting that area from your total area. And that's as simple as that can be to get the area of the border. Okay? And again, the same thing I'll look at the marks, and basically you use the amount of marks that you're getting to kind of guide you along the way in terms of the amount of work that you really have to put into it. And simply because the area of the border, they're asking you to do that and you're only getting 1 mark, it makes sense that the fastest route to the answer, which is to just find the difference between the areas, that's what they want to see. And again, because of the allocation of the profiles, right, the marks for the profiles, a question like this, where they're asking you for the area of the border, that particular mark would be allocated for your problem solving versus a knowledge based type of question, right? The knowledge based part of things would be with the area here with calculating the total area, that's like knowledge, and the algorithmic thinking as well comes in here. Okay, so the answer here, we just need to put that in our answer line. The answer for the area of the border is 10 meters squared. And again, answer line usually has the units at the end. Pay attention to that just in case they don't write it in. You would have to write in your units, because especially with measurement, units are very critical. Okay, so this is how you'd approach a question like this. Requires a little thinking, a little bit of reasoning, but once you're able to understand the concept of what you're doing here, you'll be able to apply your knowledge quite easily.